Hey, ladies and gentlemen, come to you today doing a reading of Willie Lynch's How to Make a Slave. How you turn this thing around? Oh, there we go. Hey, there we go. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Back in the 17th, 1800s, they was having problems with the slaves here in the United States. So it's a guy out the Virgin Islands called Willie Lynch. He wrote a book or whatever to show the slave owners here how to contain their slaves and keep them in order, you know what I'm saying? And it was said that we would be under this syndrome for at least 500 years. So let's get into it and see how we can reprogram ourselves to get out of this syndrome.
Bank of the James River in the colony of Virginia in 1712. Lynch was a British slave owner in the West Indies. He was invited to the colony of Virginia in 1712 to teach his methods to slave owners there. The term lynching is derived from his last name. Greetings, gentlemen. I greet you here on the bank of the James River in the year of our Lord 1712. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I am here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I have experimented with some of the newest and still the oldest methods for control of slaves. Ancient Romans would envy us if my program is implemented. As our boat sailed south on the James...
What happened? Hold on.
Willie Lynch, The Making of a Slave. This speech was delivered by Willie Lynch on the bank of the James River in the colony of Virginia in 1712. Lynch was a British slave owner in the West Indies. He was invited to the colony of Virginia in 1712 to teach his methods to slave owners there. The term lynching is derived from his last name. Greetings, gentlemen. I greet you here on the bank of the James River in the year of our Lord 1712. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I am here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I have experimented with some of the newest and still the oldest methods for control
Some of you
of
all
slaves.
just joining in.
Ancient
We're
Romans
doing
would
a
envy
reading
us
of
if my
Willie
program
Lynch's
is implemented.
Making Up a
As our boat
Slave,
sailed
so we can
south
come
on the
out of this
James River,
500 years
named
of
for our
oppression.
illustrious king, whose version of the Bible we cherish, I saw enough to know that your problem is not unique. While Rome used cores
I
of wood
think
as
if you're
crosses for
black,
standing
you
human
should read
bodies
this
along its
book.
highways in great numbers,
If you
are
have
here
kids,
using
you
the
should
tree
most
and
definitely
the
have
rope
them
on
read it.
occasions. I caught the whiff of a dead slave hanging from a tree a couple miles back. You are not only losing valuable stock by hangings, you are having uprisings. Slaves are running away. Your crops are sometimes left in the fields too long for maximum profit. You suffer occasional fires. Your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know what your problems are. I do not need to elaborate. I am not here to enumerate your problems. I am here to introduce you to a method of solving them. In my bag here, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if installed correctly, IT will control the slaves for at least 300 years. Correctly, IT will control the slaves for at least 300 years. My method
300
is simple.
years. Y'all hear
Any
that?
member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On top of my list is age, but it's there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, sizes of plantations, status on plantations.
It's all
attitude of
psychology
owners,
at the end of the
whether
day.
the slaves live in the valley, on the hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust and envy stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on, and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male. and the young black male against the old black male.
That's what's going
You
on
must use the
today.
dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves.
We
You
still
must
under
use the
that
female
indictment.
versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have you white servants and overseers distrust all blacks. But it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on U.S. They must love, respect, and trust only U.S. Gentlemen, these kits are your keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity, if used. Willie Lynch, The Making of a Slave, Virginia, USA, 1712. Intensely for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's make a slave. It was the interest in business of slaveholders to study human nature, and the slave nature in particular, with a view to practical results. I and many of them attained astonishing proficiency in this direction. They had to deal not with earth, wood and stone, but with man, and by every regard they had for their own safety and prosperity they needed to know the material on which they were to work. Conscious of the injustice and wrong they were every hour perpetuating, and knowing what they themselves would do, were they the victims of such wrongs, they were constantly looking for the first signs of the dreaded retribution. They watched, therefore, with skilled and practiced eyes, and learned to read with great accuracy the state of mind and heart of the slave through his sable face, unusual sobriety, apparent abstractions, sullenness, and indifference. Indeed, any mood out of the common was afforded ground for suspicion and inquiry. Frederick Douglass' Let's Make a Slave is a study of the scientific process of man breaking and slave making. It describes the rationale and results of the Anglo-Saxons' ideas and methods of ensuring the master-slave relationship. Let's Make a Slave, the original and development of a social being called the Negro. Let us make a slave. What do we need? First of all, we need a black N-word man, a pregnant N-word woman, and her baby N-word boy. Second, we will use the same basic principle that we use in breaking a horse, combined with some more sustaining factors. What we do with horses is that we break them from one form of life to another. That is, we reduce them from their natural state in nature. Whereas nature provides them with the natural capacity to take care of their offspring, we break that natural string of independence from them and thereby create a dependency status, so that we may be able to get from them useful production for our business and pleasure. Cardinal principles for making a Negro. For fear that our future generations may not understand the principles of breaking both of the beasts together, the N-word and the horse, we understand that short-range planning economics results in periodic economic chaos, so that to avoid turmoil in the economy, it requires us to have breadth and depth in long-range comprehensive planning, articulating both skills sharp perceptions. We lay down the following principles for long-range comprehensive economic planning. Both horse and N-words is no good to the economy in the wild or natural state. Both must be broken and tied together for orderly production. For orderly future, special and particular attention must be paid to the female and the youngest offspring. Both must be crossbred to produce a variety and division of labor. Both must be taught to respond to a peculiar new language. Psychological and physical instruction of containment must be created for both. We hold the 6 cardinal principles as truth to be self-evident, based upon the following: the discourse concerning the economics of breaking and tying the horse and the N-word together, all inclusive of the 6 principles laid down about. Note, neither principle alone will suffice for good economics. All principles must be employed for orderly good of the nation. Accordingly, both a wild horse and a wild or nature N-word is dangerous even if captured, for they will have the tendency to seek their customary freedom, and in doing so, might kill you in your sleep. You cannot rest. They sleep while you are awake, and are awake while you are asleep. They are dangerous near the family house, and it requires too much labor to wash them away from the house. Above all, you cannot get them to work in this natural state. Hence both the horse and the N-word must be broken. That is, breaking them from one form of mental life to another. Keep the body, take the mind. Another. Willie Lynch, The Making of a Slave, Virginia, USA, 1712. Words break the will to resist. Now the breaking process is the same for both the horse and the N-word, only slightly varying in degrees. But as we said before, there is an art in long-range economic planning. You must keep your eye and thoughts on the female and the offspring of the horse and the N-word. A brief discourse in offspring development will shed light on the key to sound economic principles. Pay little attention to the generation of original breaking, but concentrate on future generation. Therefore, if you break the female mother, She will break the offspring in his early years of development, and when the offspring is old enough to work, she will deliver it up to you. For her normal female protective tendencies will have been lost in the original breaking process. For example, take the case of the wild stud horse, a female horse, and an already infant horse, and compare the breaking process with two captured N-word males in their natural state. A pregnant N-word woman with her infant offspring. Take the stud horse, break him for limited containment. Completely break the female horse until she becomes very gentle, whereas you or anybody can ride her in her comfort. Breed the mare and the stud until you have the desired offspring. Then you can turn the stud to freedom until you need him again. Train the female horse whereby she will eat out of your hand, and she will in turn train the infant horse to eat out of your hand also. When it comes to breaking the uncivilized N-word, use the same process, but vary the degree and step up the pressure so as to do a complete reversal of the mind. Take the meanest and most restless N-word, strip him of his clothes in front of the remaining male N-words, the female, and the N-word infant, tar and feather him, tie his leg to a different horse faced in opposite directions, set him afire and beat both horses to pull him apart in front of the remaining N-word.
See how
The
they
next
cared
step is
about
to
us?
take a bull whip and beat the remaining N-word male to the point of death, in front of the female and the infant. Don't kill him, but put the fear of God in him, for he can be useful for future breeding. The breaking process of the African woman. Take the female and run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires willingly. Test her in every way, because she is the most important factor for good economics. If she shows any sign of resistance in submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bull whip on her to extract that last bit of B word out of her. Take care not to kill her, for in doing so, you spoil good economic. When in complete submission, she will train her offsprings in the early years to submit to labor when they become of age. Understanding is the best thing. Therefore, we shall go deeper into this area of the subject matter concerning what we have produced here in this breaking process of the female N-word. We have reversed the relationship in her natural uncivilized state. She would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized N-word male, and she would have a limited protective tendency toward her independent male offspring, and would raise male offsprings to be dependent, like her. Nature had provided for this type of balance. We reversed nature by burning and pulling a civilized N-word apart and bullwhipping the other to the point of death, all in her presence. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reversed roles. For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offsprings to be psychological independent. What have you got? You've got the N-word woman out front and the N-word man behind and scared. This is a perfect situation of sound sleep and economic. Before the break-in process, we had to be alertly on guard at all times. Now we can sleep soundly, for out of frozen fear his woman stands guard for us. He cannot get past her early slave molding. Willie Lynch, The Making of a Slave, Virginia, USA, 1712.
So, with that being said, man, do y'all see how we still to this day act under the guise of this psychological warfare, man? Like, even in seeing how mothers raise their kids, a single mother raised her daughter to be independent and not need a man for anything and be a hard worker and get out here and make it on your own, but will coddle her sons out of fear that he's gonna get killed in the streets by the police or, other people. And it's like, if you knew better, you do better, So I actually wanted to start this reading and let y'all hear some of this book to entice y'all to look at yourselves, look at how your parents brought you up and how your grandmother and them act, how we still are under the psychological grips of this, man, and how we need to come up out of it, how we got light-skinned people going against dark-skinned people. The younger generation don't want to listen to the older generation. The older generation don't want nothing to do with the younger generation because we feel like they stupid, slow, dumb. But we shouldn't have that type of feeling towards them. We should show them the right way if they are willing to listen. Because, man, that's our future. What type of future do we have to look forward to if they taking care of us? And we're already separated now, so hell, they ain't gonna have no compassion for us later on in life. But I implore you all to actually get deep into the book, read it for yourselves, reprogram yourself, get out of that way of thinking, man. We gotta love one another and move with love. That's the only thing that's gonna overcome this BS that we going through. Like right now, the 144 are waking up and stepping up. And in doing that, we have to make sure that we teach our young ones and our older ones properly so that we don't keep reoffending and doing the same things. You know what I'm saying? Once we get out of this mindset and we get back to it takes a village to raise one kid, and we start doing for one another, loving one another, then we'll rise because we'll be able to stand for something and not fall for anything. Right now, the way that they got us so individualized and not trusting each other and so separated, we can't do nothing because we scared. No soon as we get something going, then one of their snitches gonna mess it up, run to the overseer and tell him what's going on and cause a coup so that way what we was attempting to do doesn't manifest. It's like with COINTELPRO, they said that there'd be no more black messiahs, meaning that they will not allow another black person to stand up and be a rightful civil rights leader or for the people or try and educate and unite our people. They gonna do the same three tactics that they always do. The first tactic is to insult your integrity and your character. Once that doesn't work, then they try and imprison you. If the imprisonment doesn't work, then you know what the next option is. They're going to go ahead and kill you. And they ain't going to do it themselves. They're going to get somebody down the street from you to do it. Somebody who is scared to go to jail because they got caught with a bag of reefer. Somebody that's scared to go to jail for something that they rightfully deserve to go to jail for, but don't want to take the punishment for what they did, so it's easier for them to be an scapegoat and execute one of their own, regardless if they know that this person doing right or not, but just to save their own ass. Oh yeah, let me go ahead and take them out, because they got us so desensitized to killing one another that hell, they don't have to lynch and kill us no more because we gonna do the job for them. They got us hating ourselves. We racist against our own people, against our own selves, and that's something we gotta come up out of, man. We the only people that move like that. You get these Asians and Arabs and Indians, they come to this country, they'll live 10 in an apartment building. Everybody will work at the business. They'll put their money together and rise up as a group. But we too busy with not enough. Everybody want to be a chief and nobody wants to be the Indian. So that's where our division comes in at, because somebody gonna feel like they entitled to more, or they ain't getting the respect that they do, or they portion, and it creates division. We can't never unite if we got division, getting the respect that they do, or they portion, and it creates division. We can't never unite if we got division. And it's like a motor. You take it. Motor has a lot of different components and parts that go with it. But one of those components or parts go to messing up, guess what? That motor ain't gonna start. Now, does that make an alternator more important than an EGV valve? No, because alternator more important than an EGV valve? No, because you need both of those parts to make that car run properly. You need both of them. It's going to run with one and not the other. You need both parts. So no part is more important than the other. And that's how it is with us in this society. Just because you got a bigger following don't make you more important to me. I might have more knowledge about what we're trying to do than you. And we have to get over that. We have to play our position and know our position. If you can't play your position properly, how could you expect to be the chief and play the chief's role? And he got more responsibility than you had. You can't take care of your position, so you most definitely can't take care of his. So don't be mad if you are a soldier and not the chief. Don't be mad if you are usher and not the pastor. Everybody has a position and a role to play, and your part is just as important as the next one. Just because the title may seem more important, don't make it more important. It's just a title. Now your actions thereof is what makes it important. But I just wanted to leave y'all with that, man, and I implore y'all to please dive into that book. Please have your kids do an essay on it so that way we can reprogram ourselves and we don't have to go through the 300-400 years of still being entangled in that mindset. I love y'all, appreciate y'all, and share this message, man. Y'all have a great day. In this thing. I don't know, y'all. I'm sorry. I just be doing stuff and don't even know.